Okay, hi guys. Welcome back to another episode where we this time have the amazing Wayne with us, talking about Facebook advertising. So, it has been great to have you back again with us. Wayne is one of our mentors for our digital marketing classes, and he's amazing, by the way. Okay, so are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so first thing first, right? I think Facebook advertising has always been on everyone's mind, but at the same time, Facebook has so many interesting things that's popping up. Good news and also sometimes
Yeah,
bad news.
yeah.
So, tell us, some of the things that you see in the future with Facebook advertising.
So I think something like for the Malaysian context, right? I think something that is on the horizon and super exciting is actually WhatsApp.
Mm-hmm.
So like I think in recent months people are starting to get the option of you are able now to send traffic to WhatsApp.
Yeah.
And that is big for Malaysia because we are probably on WhatsApp more than on Facebook and on Instagram and sometimes even both of them combined. Right. So and it makes sense for businesses as well.
Yeah.
Like business owners are on WhatsApp as well all the time. And if you are sending inquiries straight to WhatsApp, they can attend to it directly. They can just respond to inquiries and all that. So that is something that really excites me. Another thing that excites me a lot is Facebook's algorithm.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is like a double-edged sword as well.
Yeah.
For me, I am seeing very good results when I leave all the work to Facebook. And obviously, some people are also seeing the opposite. And that's the cool thing. So that's a cool thing to have because it means that there's a lot more opportunities to experiment with stuff. Just come up with a bunch of ideas. Let Facebook figure a lot of the work for you as well. I will talk more about it.
Yeah.
Later, sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So let's get started with some of the questions, right? So the first question is from Renee Ng Official. Renee asks, how to use Facebook ads for B2B?
Okay. So first things first, when we talk about B2B, people always think LinkedIn is best for B2B.
Yeah.
And recently we did a launch at Mind Valley and for B2B specifically. And surprisingly, Facebook was our best performing platform.
Wow. Okay.
Right. So I think when people think about B2B, people think that executives are on LinkedIn, but the actual fact is that both of us are professionals and we are also using Facebook's product rather than just be on LinkedIn. Right? So when it comes to ad campaigns on LinkedIn, there are very straightforward targeting job title and then company name and all that. Use those, but the audience size for these tend to be very small. So alternatively, if you're thinking B2B, you're trying to reach business owners, that's fairly easy because they have this targeting option where you can target page owners as well. So usually you can just target food and beverage page owners or restaurant page owners and then overlay it with something like entrepreneurship. Maybe you're reaching out to restaurant owners, right? So that's one thing. The second thing that you can start thinking about, especially if you're targeting bigger organizations, think about the purchase cycle. So let's say if you are selling a piece of software for a programming software, right? So you can target the users themselves. So the programmers that will be using your software. So that's one angle for you to target. The second thing is also for the managers of these programmers. So they are usually the decision makers of whether which software to get involved for the programmers as well. So if you look at that, the things that these managers are looking for versus the things that these programmers are looking for is completely different.
Yeah.
And then in a bigger organization, sometimes you will need to deal with the IT department as well, which talks about compliance, security, and all that. So again, you need another ad set just to target these people. So if you look at it from a sales cycle perspective, then there's a lot of things that you can play with. And then if you do it right, then all of a sudden, people in an organization will start to think okay, wait, I'm seeing this company, everyone in the company is all of a sudden seeing this piece of software, and people will just start talking about it.
I think that's really cool. So for smaller companies, what you're trying to say is that you can actually go target them by, let's say, job titles, for example, but also page admins, right? But when it comes to bigger organizations, you want to cater to different departments within the organization with different ad messages, but essentially all of them are the same. Literally, you're promoting yourself, the same company, to all three different departments with three different messages. So would you say, let's say you want to target Shell, for example, then would you just choose Shell, anyone who actually put Shell as their employment, and then after that, job title based on based on top titles and
Yeah.
separate them based on job titles.
Yeah, so I would do that. So that is obviously the right. I mean, not the right way, but one way of doing it.
Yeah.
The second thing that is really cool that I think people are underutilizing is look up Shell's address.
Oh,
And then target based on the GPS coordinates.
the location.
And I mean, people who drive by Shell will probably see your ads at all, but it doesn't matter. Like people, and then if you want, you can also do like time as well, like so 9 to 6, for example, and your ad will be shot during that time. So yeah, that's another way to like target executives.
So put the address there, and usually there's that 1 kilo. I think it's 1 kilometer,
just
right?
Minimize it all the way. Just make it as small as possible, and then
and who knows, right?
Yeah, because I mean the radius makes sense because people go out for lunch.
Yeah, fair enough. I think that's a really smart idea.
Yeah.
Okay, so like Renee, there's so many really cool ideas from Master Wayne here, and definitely there are so many opportunities for people to target B2B, and I think even for our students, I've seen them asking this question like, how can I target B2B and LinkedIn is so expensive?
Yeah.
So I think this is perfect, right? Perfect for people to start thinking that, hey, Facebook is not just for lifestyle products, not just for B2C.
Yeah.
There is actually so many ways to go about it, but the question is, how do you use it and how do you think about it? All right, let's move on to the next question.
Sure.
Okay, so this is by Tyler. How would you handle a new client that has a brand new business with a very small budget to begin with?
Okay, so this is a tricky question. So the budget is usually not a problem because for marketers, like the smaller budget that you have, that means you will be more prudent with it and then you will start to spend it.
Yeah.
I think the tricky thing with like a new client that has a small budget is usually not the budget size, but with the expectation that comes.
Fair enough.
Right. So if you ask the question of like, is this all the money you have for me, like for your business?
Yeah.
Then obviously like every penny kind of counts for this client. And usually how I don't take clients now, but like usually how I advise people is that when you're taking on a client, just look at how much flexibility that the client has for you. Because obviously when you're trying to run a Facebook ad campaign, the first month will be that evaluation period.
Yeah, exactly.
Where you're just trying to find like what is the cost per lead or like return on ad spend that you're seeing without doing anything, like the benchmark. And then the value that a marketer brings or like an advertiser brings to the campaign is obviously your ability to lower the cost for acquisition or like the return on ad spend that you are getting. So if the client, even having like a low budget, is not, or no matter how high or low the budget is, if he or she is not comfortable with the first month or like the initial test period, and he or she is always like trying to micromanage, then my answer would be not to take the client. So usually, like I had the opportunity of talking or like just inquiring, like just go through like the onboarding process with like bigger agencies as well, and they usually have like a checklist of questions that you have to answer. So like obviously like when you say like, oh, I want to micromanage from the start and I only have a small budget and I want to like meet you every day, for example, then as a freelancer or as an agency, you probably want to say no to a client like this.
That's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
Okay, I think so really, just to sum it up, right? Always remember that when you're doing Facebook advertising, especially if it's a new brand, small budget, there is always a learning period.
Yes.
And the learning period can go up to 1 month. In fact, basically Facebook will need to learn about your business, learn about you a lot more before they can even, look for the right people for you. And I think this is very interesting because like I literally have students asking this question like, oh, you know what to do if I have no money, right? I want to run Facebook ads. Like, people are, my boss is already expecting me to have ROI coming in.
Yeah.
And why isn't Facebook, being able to be so as effective as other people? Then the question we ask ourselves is, hey, you know what? Does Facebook even know enough of your brand?
Yeah.
And in some occasions, I have students saying that they have marketing agencies who actually run ad for them, but have never installed any Facebook pixel on their website, right? Then how do you think Facebook even know if it really works for you?
Exactly.
It's insane.
Yeah.
So I think these are some of the key things to remember, that there is always a learning period, and if the person is going to micromanage and not willing to go through the learning period, I think maybe that is not a brand that you would want to take on.
Yeah,
it's going to be quite a pain.
For sure. And usually, like when you start working with the client, usually you just get all his ideas or her ideas of like her understanding of the product that he or she wants to promote.
Yeah.
And then the initial campaign will just be based on his or her assumption.
Yeah.
And then the initial trial period is basically to show the client that, okay, these are your assumptions and these are the results that we get. And usually coming from someone who is not technical with Facebook ads, the results will probably be average or like even sometimes bad. And then your job as a marketer is to then tell the client that, see, your assumptions are wrong, so let me take this moving forward. So it's also that as well.
I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, next one. Sharon. So Sharon's asking how to know if my audience targeting is right, especially when I'm giving a photography service.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So what do you think?
So obviously, like, you will need to target people who are interested in photography services or just like interest. So interest photography is a bit tricky, but like you will need to target people who are looking at like wedding photos, like people who are interested in wedding, people interested in portrait photography and all that. So once you have all of these, just make sure you have a business outcome in mind, whether it's like number of inquiries, number of sales, number of messages coming through like Messenger or like WhatsApp. Have that as your single metric. And then all your campaigns should be optimized towards that metric. And that's when you know which interest targeting is right for your business.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. I think I remember once there was like telling me, oh, you know what? This person has so many metrics that they want to obviously achieve. I want to gather leads, I want to get sales, I want to get referral, yada. And I said, hey, you know what? When you're doing one campaign, do you know what is the one thing you want to do? Because different people are different. So I think you're really, I love the point that you said you need to know what is your single metric and then optimize your campaigns towards that metrics. Because what Facebook does is like, Facebook will look for people who most likely convert according to the metrics that you have just determined, right? So I think those are the key things to keep in mind. And maybe really also to add, right, I think just now I really love what you're saying, like when you're doing audience targeting, you also need to think about in what situation people would want to have photography services. Right? So that's where you say, hey, maybe this person is looking for a wedding, getting married, or this person is having a kid. And then you also ask yourself, so how do I target people who want to get married? Maybe the person already just got engaged for, and I know that Facebook has that, just got engaged in a relationship and all that stuff. So I think those are some of the key things you could think about. But in terms of effectiveness or not, like what Wayne say, you need to make sure that it achieves the outcome. Sometimes if you think that, oh, my targeting seems powerful, perfect, everything's amazing, and then you're like, hey, no one seems to be, inquiring
or like, sending you messages.
That can happen sometimes.
For sure.
Okay. The next one is how to create a powerful caption for Facebook ads.
So good copywriting skills. So like so I don't say that I'm a very good copywriter myself. But like there's this basic formula called ADA that basically all the advertisers who are advertising on Facebook or just advertising in general or like just in marketing in general knows about. So you have A stands for attention. So people are scrolling through kilometers of content on Facebook every single day. So what the most important element is that your creative or your copy itself will need to grab the person's attention. So these days people use a lot of like emojis and like all caps to just capture people's attention. And then it goes into the interest part, so like the benefits of the offer that you're providing, and then you have the desire, like what makes people want the offer now, right? If not, they will just scroll past your offer or your ad. And then the last part is the call to action. This is a very simple formula, but of course, like you have to think about basically like personalizing your ad as well towards the interest that you're targeting. So going back to the example that we were talking about with photography services, right? So if you are an expert if you're trying to target parents who want to take like photos for their baby, then obviously like with your creative, you can't be showing someone who is like taking wedding photos and stuff, right? So that part of like personalization for your ad creative is also very important.
So AIDA, AIDA, attention, interest, desire, action, and as well as context, right? Make sure the context is correct. And really, by the end of the day, powerful caption and whatnot is really also experimenting, right? Sometimes you think that you write the best thing ever, you know. Sometimes these things you need to experiment it out. So what's best is that there are options. The best part with Facebook is that there is options for you to A/B test a few different messages. And then the best part is that it will also determine and tell you which one is the best.
That as well. And also like something that I'm doing more of these days is to use Facebook groups. So popular Facebook groups that are relevant to your business or where your target audience hangs out. So what you do is just go there and then just read through the post that has a lot of engagement and just see how they write their copy, because that is usually how your target audience speaks. And when you can use that in your copy, it automatically resonates with your target audience. So you can use Facebook groups. Some people use Quora, but obviously that's not that popular here in Malaysia. But Facebook groups is also one way to figure out how to write copy as well.
Conclusion: if you don't know what to write, go copy people.
Go copy like the most engaged posts on Facebook.
Fair enough. Okay, and so someone asked is how to make full use of Facebook data and optimize my ads.
So even at our scale, like we only look at one metric, maybe two, and that's it. And these metrics tie directly to your business outcome. And usually for business owners, actually usually for everyone, this is ROI or return on ad spend, however you define it, and then your cost per acquisition. So these are the two metrics that we only look at, right? So if both of these metrics don't make sense to you as a business, then it's a bad campaign. And optimization is really just increasing budget on what works and pausing or reducing the budget on what is not working. Right? So all the other gazillion of metrics that Facebook provide you with is mostly for you to investigate what is wrong and what else can be improved. It's not for you to optimize. I mean, if a campaign is not performing well, you look at those to figure out what you need to fix, whether it's the targeting that is not right, whether it's your copy and all that. But like the essence of like optimization and the metrics to look at is really the metrics that ties back to your business outcome.
So maybe one follow-up question is also what happens with, sometimes some ads start off to be really good, really, converting and so on. So you tend to put more money and maybe there is a fatigue there and then the efficiency of the ad just falls, right? Do you immediately say that, this ad falls already, and so I off this ad forever? Would you actually restart the ad again knowing that once upon a time this ad actually worked?
For sure. So let's say month one, an ad is performing really well, and then it stops performing in month two, and then that's when it gets paused, right? So a month goes by. There is a chance that in month three, when you turn it back on, it might start performing again. So like we do revisit our ad sets like once every few months. So like the pause ones. So we just look at pause ad sets that used to perform really well, and if we need to like scale up or like look for more targeting ideas, all we do is just turn them back on, or like just turn them back on, but like give them new assets to work with. And increasingly like knowing or not knowing how Facebook algorithm works, like something that we did recently is we figured out that instead of increasing the budget of what works, duplicating the ad set without changing. This is not a best practice, but we kind of did this, and we found out that scaling up or like increasing your budget this way sometimes will give you a better cost per lead or better return on ad spend.
Interesting. So instead of let's just say campaign A works really well and you're spending say $100 a day, instead of doing $200 a day, you actually duplicate the same ad set with the same targeting.
Don't change anything
and
don't change the budget, and then you actually get better results with the second ad set. The hypothesis here is that with every new ad set that you are creating, Facebook actually put its best effort towards optimizing, like giving you leads or like sales at the lowest cost per acquisition, and therefore a second ad set will work better than increasing the budget on your original ad set.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Were you guys shocked when you found that?
Yeah, for sure. Like I mean, if you look at all the best practices, it's always
Yeah.
okay, if we need to increase the budget, you just increase the budget, right?
Yeah.
So apparently, like, there's this as well. So it makes everything so much easier. So like, we don't have to guess, oh, should I increase 10%, 20%, should I double the budget? Like, all this guesswork goes out of the window.
Just duplicate.
Just duplicate. If it doesn't perform, pause it, and then try duplicating it again.
Okay.
So something for you guys to try, and we are looking to roll this out more as well.
So guys, really, I think one of the best part about having to meet so many different mentors and whatnot is the fact that you guys are all trying out so many things out there, testing things out. What I really love is that it's not just it's that you guys are real practitioners. You guys go try things out and you're not afraid to fail, and you're not afraid to not try. You're not afraid to experiment things.
Yeah.
And you see guys like this, for example, when people talk about optimizing, usually people say if things don't work, add more money in. I mean, no.
If things work.
If things work, add more money in.
Yeah.
If things don't work, cut it off, right?
Yeah.
But like for them, like for you, you just experiment it out and say, oh, you know what? Let's just try duplicating this ad instead. And usually people would say that why do you duplicate? Because you end up fighting yourself. Fighting and cannibalizing each other.
So the thought, we gave that a thought as well.
Yeah.
But then we think about it like, Facebook is such a big marketplace with millions of advertisers competing already.
Yeah.
And by having more ad sets, you're not just competing with yourself. You're essentially competing with like everybody else. So instead of like, think of yourself as think of your ad set as machine guns, right? So if you have millions of machine guns out there shooting just blindly at like the war zone, like just by adding 3 more machine guns on your end, doesn't really change much.
Yeah.
And if you can get better results out of it, why not?
Yeah.
So that's how we
I
kind of make that explanation work for us.
I really like the way you describe it. Machine guns are shooting. I mean, that's friendly fire lah.
Yeah.
But okay lah. Right? At least I have more guns than you.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one. Steven asked, how to stand out differently from the competitors' advertisements?
So, whenever we look at the competitors' ad, we don't try to stand out. We think of free ways. I mean, we come up with free things to just test things out.
Yeah.
So, way number 1 is actually to mimic the competitor entirely. Copy.
Number
Like,
1.
if the competitor is doing it, probably it's working.
Yeah.
So we'll just copy, like straight up, like the same element altogether.
The same, maybe the same text, same everything, just image different a little bit.
Maybe because the page name will be different, so it will be different already. So like copy the same landing page, everything the same. The second thing is to go completely opposite of what the competitor is doing.
So same, opposite. Okay.
And the third way is to do somewhere in the middle. So like copy but with your own flavors. So all of a sudden you get 3 ideas, and then one of it might take off. Like standing out from competitors may not always be the best thing, because people only do something. People do things for a reason.
Yeah.
If it's not working, then people are probably not doing it. And why reinvent the wheel?
Yeah.
As people say, right? So
that is a very good strategy.
Yeah.
Very smart strategy. But of course, by the end of the day, competitors, I mean, we can copy in terms of what's it called? We can copy in terms of the message, the ad image, landing page also we can copy. But at some point, people will also ask like, oh, am I able to copy their targeting as well? Which obviously you cannot really see the targeting, right?
Yeah. And there's something that will always be different when you look at one business versus another business, which is the way how the business is run, the profit margins, things that you don't see on the surface, right? And if you're just like blindly copying or blindly trying to stand out, you might be going after the wrong outcome with your campaign as well.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Love this. This is like Sun Tzu out of war.
Yeah. Like some advertisers are willing to just burn all their money that they invest in. Would you want to go after that? Maybe, right? So some businesses are very conservative as well while you want to grow. So there's all these things that we don't know just looking at that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so another one is how to choose the right advertisement placement more accurately.
So
I know your answer for this already.
So there's the obvious answer, which is like if you think your creative won't fit into the placement, then obviously just exclude the placement. These days, a lot of our campaigns just use auto placements.
Yeah.
So we just let Facebook decide which placement to show.
Yeah.
The reason why we're doing it is we try to segment things, like have one ad set for Instagram, one ad set for stories, and one ad set for Facebook feed. What we found out is that Facebook is always smarter than us.
Yeah.
We just don't know if the same person is on Instagram at this hour of the day, and then he or she will go on other placements during other hours of the day. So we always leave it to Facebook to decide for us.
Yeah.
But obviously, like if you have a vertical video, or like if you have a square banner that will not take up the whole screen when it's on Instagram, then you might want to just have a specific creative for different placements. But then again, like if you enable all placements, you can always look at breakdown and see which ad is performing better at each placement, and then decide whether you want to double down on a particular placement as well.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
I think a few years back, I think, doing manual placements still makes sense, right? But then as time goes on, I remember Facebook actually contacted me and said, hey, you know what, give it a try, the automatic placement.
Yeah.
I think the first few tries, it was quite mediocre, so I never really bothered. But after a while, I decided, hey, let's give it a try again. I can't remember when is that, but probably, I think 1 year back, 1.5 years back. I can't remember. And I realized, hey, it's actually getting better and better.
Yeah.
In fact, today, it's getting so much better than, manual placement, because like what you said, they just know, and really this whole algorithm thing is evolving so fast.
Yeah.
It's really getting smarter.
Yeah, there are two possible reasons of like why that is happening. So like one thing is because people are excluding everything and just focus on like the feed. Therefore, the prices that you pay to show up on like some alternative placements are cheaper. And also, second thing, like if you are an advertiser who doesn't care about how your ad looks, because sometimes your ad looks weird when it's, so if you put a square image on Instagram stories, for example, it looks really weird or out of place, right? But this out of placeness is actually what gets people to click, because they're like, what is this weird thing that doesn't show up right? And then people will actually pay attention. So I think one of these two is happening. That's why we are seeing like why auto placements.
So guys, remember, Facebook is smarter than you.
Yeah.
Facebook knows so much more about you. Probably know when you're going to go sleep, when you're going to go eat, what you're going to eat, what you're going to do next week. They probably also know.
They probably already know, but you don't even have an idea.
Yeah, you don't even know yet.
Yeah.
So that's how crazy this whole movement is like right now. Okay, guys, let's move on to the next one. Denise asked how to achieve high ROI, right? No, how to achieve high ROAS.
Yeah. So return on ad spend. So ROAS is a function of revenue over ad spend. So we all know that, right? So I don't recommend people looking at ROAS as a goal to hit, because in a way you can also achieve high ROAS by reducing your spend, right? So what you want is actually use ROAS as a benchmark. So for example, if let's say your ROAS is 150%, for example, then that should stay constant, and your goal is always the ad spend goal or revenue goal, because when your ROAS goal stays constant, you know that if your ad spend increases or if your revenue increases, then you're doing a good job as an advertiser. So I think this question is coming more from like, what are the things that you can tweak on the campaign level to improve ROAS? So if you are going after ROAS, use ROAS as your ultimate metric, meaning any campaign that doesn't perform in terms of ROAS, you will need to stop them and then investigate like how to make them work. And obviously, like anything that works in terms of like let's say you're targeting like 150% ROAS and it's getting like 300% ROAS, then obviously you need to double down on this ad set by either increasing the budget or duplicating the ad set.
So I think just now we kind of talked about it a little bit, but when you talk about ROAS and then you also talk about cost per lead and something like this, and you use both of them hand in hand, right?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe you could explain it a little bit.
Sure. So we don't actually use it hand in hand. So for example, like when we are just prospecting campaigns, when we go after leads, like we have a lower benchmark when it comes to ROAS. Obviously,
Fair
you
enough, fair
can't
enough.
expect someone who doesn't know
Yeah.
about business to come in and then
As
convert
revenue,
and
yeah.
buy right away, right?
Yeah.
So the primary KPI. So we always have only one KPI for a campaign. We never optimize for both things because
fair enough.
if you think about it, like people who are more likely to buy may come into your funnel at a more expensive cost per lead as well.
Fair
And
enough.
then as an advertiser, you're stuck in between like, okay, whether I should optimize for this or whether I should optimize for that. So always have just one single metric. If it's ROAS, then make it like let it be ROAS.
Yeah.
If it's CPL, then let it be CPL.
Yeah.
That will make optimization so much easier. And I think like when it comes to ROAS, like using the breakdown is actually gives you a lot of insights. So if you have been running your campaign for some time, let's say 3 months, right?
Yeah.
Look at the breakdown. You will get to know like locations or like regions or like age or like gender or even placements that you should exclude for good, like moving forward, because it hasn't performed for 3 months, right? So if it doesn't perform for 3 months, then that's usually tells you that okay, I need to like just don't do this moving forward to just save some ad spend there.
So guys, if you guys are targeting for ROAS, then what you're optimizing is to optimize for sales and purchases. And if you're looking at cost per lead, for example, in other words, you're actually optimizing for getting leads. So I think one key thing is that know your metrics because your metrics matters, and what numbers, what data you look at is associated with the metrics that you have in mind already. So keep that in mind. So for example, if you're like what you say, if you're gathering leads, obviously the ROAS is not going to really make too much sense, right? But if you're gathering revenue, obviously ROAS would be perfect, right? And you want to maintain a certain standard, a certain benchmark.
Yeah.
And I think for when you're saying benchmark, maybe one way of looking at your benchmark is also look at your average, your previous, let's say, average ROAS benchmark, and then going forward, you want to obviously maintain or be better, right?
Yeah. But always like when you make that when you set that benchmark, you need to make sure that only one thing is moving in that equation.
Yeah.
So let's say if you decide that your ROAS is gonna be at 150%, make it fixed so that you know that by increasing your ad spend, you're actually doing better. But if let's say you want to improve your ROAS, then your ad spend will have to stay constant.
Yeah,
because that's when you can tell like okay, the ROAS is actually improving. Because if both things are moving, like if ad spend is also moving and ROAS is also moving, then you kind of don't know which one to optimize.
Fair enough.
Or like which one to look at.
Okay, so I think there's one added question that just came by. You said, what's the average cost per click nowadays? Maybe I can just take this, right?
Yeah.
I think when it comes to cost per click, these days what we really care about is something that is more that matters more, that has more intent, right? When we talk about intent, we care about leads more, we care about bigger goals such as sales more. So I think it's what's really interesting is what we realize is that sometimes some of our ads, right, very little clicks, right?
Yeah.
But they actually converts well.
Yeah.
But some ads that have a lot of clicks, a lot of likes, a lot of comments, and things just don't convert as well.
Yeah.
And was talking to Facebook person, and she was like saying, think about this. Sometimes people who really engage, who love engaging with ads, right? They're actually very expensive to convert.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on this?
So my thought is, if people spend time to click on that like, so people who click through to your website, they lost the opportunity to like your ad already.
Fair enough.
And if they're spending a lot of your time on your website, just going through your information and then even subsequently buy, like these people are valuable for businesses, but they don't have the opportunity to go back and like your ad.
Yeah.
But they already converted. So, and then people who are liking posts, they are usually just like browsing through Facebook, and that's why they are liking posts. So that is my thought on this basically.
Yeah. What are your thoughts where sometimes it gets a bit contradicting when I see that, Facebook would say that, we would push up things that have more engagement, even ads that has more engagement will push it up more, right? But at the same time, we also know that if people spend so much time, clicking, liking, commenting, doesn't really mean that they are actually looking into getting into your getting into your landing pages or what. So I find that this tool sometimes when these two comments come in, I told you I got the comment from Facebook itself, right?
Yeah.
And Facebook say one thing here, and then the other part of Facebook say this thing. And I'm like, isn't this?
I think it is conflicting, and I think with video it is actually possible to make both of these. It's actually possible to bridge both of these because your video could start out with a question like, "What is your goal for today?" For example, right? And then this statement captures people's attention, and then people who obviously watch through the entire video will probably be interested and then click on to go onto your website. But this question itself will prompt an engagement. So people who are just like, rather than just scrolling through or like just clicking on the like button, they will actually leave a comment because there is actually a point to leave a comment. So with video, it's actually possible. With banners, it's a bit tricky. Like how do you actually ask questions? So yes, it's contradictory, but like as advertisers, we just need to kind of find a way to optimize for.
I mean, for you guys at Mind Valley, I'm sure you guys have done that. So what's your goal for today? Is that something that you have done?
So yeah, we always start off with a contradictory statement or like we call it a pattern interrupt. So like, what is the one statement that will get people to like get angry at or like to get curious to know more about or like so you could start say for next term you could say like, oh, AI is going to take over your job in the next 3 years, right? And then people would be like, oh shit.
Yeah. I think the whole part about interrupting patterns. I really like that. Sun Tzu Out or master way. Okay. Let's someone asked, what is a good campaign asset or ad structure?
So right now Facebook has this campaign budget optimization, so they call it CBO. It's something that everyone that I know in the industry is actually preparing for, and no one seems to have a good idea of like how to approach this because they're campaign budget optimization. So previously, the best structure is always like, okay, you have all your ads, so you divide your audience in the ad set level, and then the best practice is to have one interest, or you try to make it as specific as possible with your ad sets. And then inside these ad sets, you will have maybe 3 to 5 creatives and just to see which one goes. That's the ideal ad set before, and you basically specify your budgets on the ad set level. Now that Facebook moved the budget to the campaign level, it makes everything a bit tricky when it comes to like optimization, because this means that you will need to send perfect data to Facebook. So if you're sending the wrong data to Facebook, then Facebook will start optimizing for the wrong things. So that's super important. And I guess right now, the best structure is still that legacy structure that we have. But instead of so how we are dealing with campaign budget optimization now is that we just retain the existing structure, we just change it to campaign budget optimization, and then we'll let Facebook do its thing for a few weeks just to see like whether it's working or not. If not, we move the entire targeting to the campaign level. Like Google, if you guys are familiar with like Google structure, it's basically that. So instead of having multiple ad sets, you start to have multiple campaigns that are going after different audiences. So basically, just move everything one level higher if you still want control over your budget. So the two alternatives. So if you're sending perfect data to Facebook and all this while Facebook has been optimizing your campaigns pretty well with its machine learning and stuff, then you can just use campaign as a folder, use ad sets as a way to divide your target audience, and then use the ad level as a level to put all your creators. If that is not working well for you, then consider moving the targeting or like the audience to the campaign level. And then
And I think one key thing to remember is that when you're doing CBO or campaign budget optimization, is that you need to make sure that everything everything goes to the same goal. I think on the campaign side, you're already going to be setting up like, hey, you know what, this is the whole goal is actually to get conversions. Then it is to get conversions and really try to narrow down to. I think sometimes the way I use it is kind of do it a little bit like A/B testing, but I'm not using the A/B testing tool. Because I'm thinking that, hey, I'm letting Google figure I'm letting Facebook figure things out. So I just throw a bunch of stuff in there. And then just let it run, let it figure it out, and to see what messages hit the to see what messages fit the target audience.
Yeah.
But for me, the way I do it is also like, in my mind, it's like, oh, it's either I'm trying to look for the right message, or I'm trying to look for the right audience. I've never tried to merge both of them together.
Yeah.
I want to try that though. I've never tried that.
You should give it a try because it might work. So the way how it is like, I mean, with the existing, like, okay, knowing that Facebook optimizes the ads for you, like, it really is how many things you can throw to Facebook.
Like, can you imagine this? If, let's just say, I have 3 different messages.
Yeah.
And then, and now I have 3 different audiences, meaning that I will have 9 things inside, right? And I'm trying to get Facebook, go figure it out for me. I've never tried that, but I think it would be very interesting.
You should, because Facebook probably knows, like, I don't know the algorithm, but like Facebook probably knows like which copy to show people at different times of the day or in different contexts. Like when a person is traveling, they are probably tracking your GPS and stuff. So like, if they know that you are traveling, probably this copy will perform better than they're showing you this. But like, when it comes to creative, there's no one size fit all. Like, it's tied back to your context as well. So I'm telling people this more, and people usually like say like WTF to me back. So like, so I'm telling people more of like, stop A/B testing or like stop split testing. Just let machines do the work. So that's the new thing for advertisers. Because A/B testing is only useful when you really want to present an insight. So if you really want to show your boss or your client that, okay, messaging A works better than messaging B. If you need to do that kind of presentation, then yes, it makes sense to A/B test. Else, it's just giving Facebook everything and see which one works best for your campaign. And
I think, and for A/B testing, you need to reach a certain level of conversions to actually make sense, right? I think statistically you need to reach about 1,000 conversions. So I mean, leads is, depending on the size of your company as well, leads is possible, right? But then, like, let's say purchase, sales, that one is going to be a lot harder, and you're going to spend your time letting it learn forever.
And most business owners don't have that patience to let you just wait.
So guys, this I would say that this is definitely a lot more advanced, right? This is really advanced Facebook advertising, and also really you need to think and strategize how to go about it, and you also need to learn how to track them, right? So I think these are key things where, not to say it's easy or hard to do, but you really need to have the right thought process when you're thinking about this stuff. Okay, the next one. Is Facebook ads getting more expensive now?
Yes. Facebook ads is actually very easy. Like, out of all the platforms that's out there, like Facebook, everyone can become. So not only everyone can become an advertiser on Facebook these days, like everyone can become a Facebook guru these days as well. Like, more and more people are teaching Facebook ads, and with that, obviously, like, more people are advertising on Facebook as a platform. So for sure, look at things around us; they're also getting more expensive. So it makes sense for Facebook advertisers to go up. So yes,
And he asked how to get the best cost per result.
Best cost per result.
I think you really need to monitor, right? I think that's one word, like monitoring them, and to make sure, like, just like what Wayne say, take a look at your cost per lead as well as your ROAS, right? Depending on your goals that you want to.
It may not always be the buttons that you click on Ads Manager though. Sometimes it makes sense to look at the offer. So your offer is actually the bigger lever that you can pull. Landing page, for example. Because if you want to optimize for the lowest cost per result, I could tell you, like, go set up a quiz funnel and just make people take quizzes.
People love quizzes.
People love quizzes. But then you will get a ton of people to do quizzes, and then you get a ton of emails. But whether they are the highest quality when it comes to like when the possibility of closing them in the future, maybe not. So there's that element to consider as well.
Okay, so Karen asks also, how do you reduce your ad spend and generate better quality leads?
Okay, so
it's such a broad question.
It's a broad question. So first question, first counter question that I would ask is, why would you want to reduce your ad spend? So if something is working for you, obviously you want to get as much as possible. Usually I don't reduce my ad spend. Just as a general principle for myself, I start with a low ad spend. So even if I have a very big budget, so let's say if I have a budget of 1,000 ringgit a day, okay, that's big. And then usually how I spend this money, I don't put 1,000 a day on a single ad set. So instead, the minimum per ad set is actually 3 ringgit, right? So usually I would just spread that 1,000 ringgit a day across as many ad sets as possible, especially if this is a new campaign.
Right.
So what I'm trying to get here is when I spread my seeds all over the place, I will actually be able to see which one is showing performance, and therefore over time I just start moving my money towards the things that are performing. So so I guess this is just a very different approach to when it comes to optimization. And reducing ad spend just to get better performance is tricky because let's say you are getting say a $6 cost per lead, right? And then you want it to be lower. If you just reduce your ad spend, it doesn't mean that all of a sudden Facebook will give you a lower cost per lead as well. So there is this ambiguity there that you need to play with. But try to go from high budget to low budget.
So ad spend, right? Ad spend is one thing, but cost per lead really matters. That's where you want to see if it makes sense or not. It's not. Let's say $50 if you spend 50 ringgit to get one lead. If today you spend 500, right, you get 10 leads. But if you decided to reduce it down to say $250, you get 5 leads, right? But basically your cost per lead is still the same. So I think that's not much different. So look at the thing that you should look at is the results, I guess, the cost per results. I think there's one more thing here. Does today's audience, which is millennials, search for perfection in posting or authenticity in the products? I guess the whole idea, I think what he's trying to say is that, the millennials tend to look for things that are, look super perfect, like it looks almost like stock photo-ish. Or they really or they want to look for authenticity that doesn't always look the prettiest, but it's like look like real human, real person using it.
So I think like with millennials, you look at the influencers, like the content being put up by influencers these days, right? It's basically both. Like you have the authenticity element in it, but at the same time it's also close to perfect. So if as a brand you can produce something like that. So if you look at say Gary Vee's content, like he is authentic, but at the same time the production quality is very high. So try to go for both if possible. If you have to choose in between, I will actually choose authenticity, because what I'm increasingly realize is that videos with a person selling upfront on camera, or like just a selfie video, these videos tend to perform than say a stock video. It doesn't matter which industry. It can be a real estate agent walking you through the property. Like these kind of videos will outperform any stock videos. Because you will be able to create that connection better when your face is in front of the camera and just talking to people that way. So
I understand. So I think let's just bring back to the start of the conversation a little bit. So we are talking about what you're excited about, right? One is the WhatsApp, right? So I think definitely, like what you say, in Malaysia, everyone uses WhatsApp, right? And doing that, right, driving traffic to WhatsApp and being able to really talk to the person, and being authentic, right, immediately being authentic itself, would definitely help with business. Okay, so how do you think some of these people could? I mean, not everyone is jumping into it right now, but how do you think how they can prepare for it?
So use video. The reason why you use video is obviously you are able to connect with people better. And then when people actually send a message to you, it will be super cool if you reply with a video. Or with a voice.
Everyone loves doing voice.
Everyone loves doing voice. And people will be, because we don't hear from advertisers that often these days. Like usually when we reach out to brands, they just it's a cold message. Sometimes usually these days the response come from chatbots, right? So if you are a small business and you really want to double down on Facebook as a channel, and you really want to make it work, and if you really want to do something that stands out from your competitors, reply with a voice. And if they heard your voice from the ad, And if you are replying also with your voice, they immediately will have that connection with your business.
For the voice, right now I know obviously you cannot copy and paste voice lah.
Yeah.
You need to speak.
Yeah, but that is also the authenticity bit, right? And unless you're getting say hundreds of inquiries a day, then if you're getting like just 5, 10, then it's something manageable.
But okay, so I think this is one thing that I know which demographic actually respond to voice really well. Like I know, like from example, my mom and whatnot, they tend to use voice a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, so but I do not know about, like, for me, I don't use voice at all. I actually when I receive voice, I get really annoyed because
you have to listen the whole thing.
I had to listen to the whole thing, and I could be out here and I need to hold up and listen to it.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on those things? Like, is there, I mean, I do see adoption, especially for the slightly older generation.
Yeah.
But for me, I look at myself, I don't use voice.
Yeah.
Right? How about you? Do you use it?
I use it because in general, like my boss Vision likes to use it. So
You're trained.
Yeah, I'm trained in that sense. And like at our office, like I used to throw people, so I just hold on to like the mic button all the way and don't speak anything. And then like towards the end, I was like, okay. So people will have to listen through the whole thing just for that last 5 seconds of like okay. But like in general, I think people are definitely starting to use voice more and more. That's for sure. And the reason for that is because people are always on the go and sometimes it's hard to type. It's a mix. I would say that the reason why you are not a fan of voice, and sometimes I don't as well, is because we are busy people. Like when we are working and whatnot, it's just such a pain to just listen to that clip and not like just giving up on all the tasks that we are working on.
Yeah.
So it's that as well. But not everyone is super busy. Like I said, there are people who are actually that really loves connecting with people. Like they have the time to just.
I agree. I really agree that works. I remember trying to buy like this face machine, right? And I was texting, and then suddenly, the person sent voice clips over. The first one and second one I hear, I got excited. Then after that, there's a lot of voice clips. It's not just one or two, and the voice clips just start popping up, and I'm like, I'm not listening to this anymore. Yeah. Maybe there is not to say there's a limit to it, but maybe there needs to be, instead of 5 voice clips that just appear, maybe there needs to be a little bit of strategy over there.
Yeah, maybe just the first message, just to create that connection. Just the first message. And then after that, you can just do your thing. Yeah.
Okay, and I think another thing is we're talking about Facebook algorithm just now, and these days Facebook, you were saying that Facebook is quite cool. They know so much about us. And you want to leave it all, like pretty much we could very safely leave it to them to actually figure a lot of things out. I know right now you have the CBO, okay, they will optimize for your, they will almost help you, not to say look for your audience, but they help you know where you should put your money. I know, what else do you foresee where Facebook will also introduce?
I don't know, to be honest. Like, I wish I know, but like
crystal ball.
Yeah,
crystal ball.
I really don't know, and I guess like that is what makes this job really exciting, right? Because things are always changing, and all of a sudden Facebook could say that, oh, your ad doesn't fall within our ad policy anymore, and we'll disapprove everything, and then you have to figure out how to make it work.
It's crazy lah.
I
recently I've received something which is very interesting, is that Facebook would allow us, like individuals, to actually off the ability for Facebook to track them off Facebook. So in other words, they won't be able to track if I go to your website and whatnot. So how do you see that impacting? I don't think that it's going to have, especially in Asia, I don't think that it's going to be a quick uptake lah. I don't think so. But how do you see that affecting people from different countries where they really care about their privacy?
So I think people who are very privacy conscious will definitely take advantage of that thing. For sure, I will be doing that.
Oh, you will?
And I'm actually actively turning off ads as well.
Ad blockers, is it?
No, not ad blockers, but like telling Facebook to stop showing me ads from this advertiser. I think I don't know the impact. I mean, theoretically, it will be quite bad for advertisers because you just lose all these like targeting opportunities. And if you are putting out ads that are performing, but they are kind of like we call them douchey or like bad ads
Yeah.
that is just like shouting to people or like creates a bad experience for people, then obviously these advertisers will get affected the most because negatively. And I think as a whole, it's actually good for the users. And I guess we'll just need to like start creating, like as advertisers, create better ads for people as well. Like rather than just focusing on like the ads that come, because we all know what type of ads come, but it's those ads that are like flashy arrows just pointing click here. Yeah. So instead of doing that, start thinking about like how you can provide value through your ads, putting up more content as ads, for example. And I think if you are capable of doing that while making sure that your business outcomes or business goals are being met, then it's a win-win for everybody. People get better ads, you get better outcome, you stand out from your competitors as well that way. So
that's awesome. I think we can wrap up for today. I think it has been quite some time, right? What's the time now? Wow, it's about an hour, guys. So love this session with you. And guys, next week would be one of our classes, our digital marketing product launch bootcamp. It's starting on the 4th of July. Hoping to see all of you guys there. And learning from mentors as well as getting a lot of all these insights. I think it has been, for me even, I'm always learning. I'm always learning from you, Master Wayne, right? Right, guys, sometimes what you really need to have is, having people to be able to share these insights with you guys and really, work together with you guys and brainstorm with you guys. So if this is what you're looking for, right? If you have problem statements, we have very interesting. We have students, bringing in very interesting. I remember there's this jam. This person sells jam.
Oh wow!
And we were just talking about it. He's like, oh, I don't know how to target. So ended up the whole entire class brainstormed together. We were talking about how what kind of content would work, right? Because there are some guys who are going to be proposing. We were also talking about what's the difference between wedding bands and proposal rings. Apparently those things are different, and how can you target people who have just proposed, target them for wedding bands and so on. So it was such an interesting conversation where the whole class actually brainstorm stuff like this together. And I think those are really valuable. So really thank you so much, Wayne, for joining us. And hope to see all of you guys.
Thank you so much for this opportunity as well.
Oh yeah, and guys, WeGrowth is happening soon. You want to do a shout out?
So on the 2nd of July, we are doing a meetup for marketers. So if you want to join around 100 marketers in one space learning from each other, you can come. It's going to be at KL Gateway from 7 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. I believe. So if you want to look for the event, just go on Facebook and search for Kuala Lumpur Marketers Meetup and you should see the events page.
Awesome. Okay, bye guys.
Bye.
Oh.